With all these flights of fancy in mythology, religion, and history, we wonder why some correlations exist. For example, in the Chinese story Journey to the West, the saga of the Monkey King, there is a kingdom of women in the Monkey King story. Upon further inspection, it's explained that every 1,000 years a kingdom with supernatural technological powers rules over the earth. They call it the millennial peak. A point in human history where technology concentrates, but becomes hard to sustain in a finite planet. Like a juggling juggler, trying to take on more and more objects to juggle. Eventually it reaches its peak and drops everything. Considering all this, the kingdom of women might just be the inevitable millennial peak's last-ditch effort to save the women in their time, usually in decline, after substandard and sustained industrial practices of the kingdom of man in question. Usually for this reason, upon seeing the conditions of Earth, leaders of the apex civilization build a system meant to protect their women for a very long time, against common man and the potential lords waiting to pounce on any and all women, after a collapse. If history repeats itself, over and over again, there might already be advanced systems, potentially, in the hands of certain families, requiring working chemical battery, wireless charging port, active geomagnetic power centers, usually massive, etc. If the inheritors have no clue what they possess, then it could only make for a good auction item. If not in the hands of families, it may be automated system deep in the crust, charged with geoelectricity, awaiting activation. Say an invasion. Moving on. The Monkey King story is a story that tries to warn the future of what breaks the proverbial camel's back, as women, in their new positions of power, side with the savage that have evolved into quite the quick, strong, smart fellow. Torn between what they desire and what they deems necessary or responsible as the bearers of young, they cannot afford mistakes. Usually with established social norms of practical practice. But of course the Monkey King throws a wrench into the inner workings of highest society. I suspect that child abuse of particular children can unravel society no matter how strong and developed. The Monkey King points out that an individual from nature deals with higher society and somehow finds favored or their prowess. A prowess no one can control, sounds like Jedi mind powers to me, making the Monkey King powerful, naturally. But what is this power that gains favor? Considering we have 5 established senses, the one we deem most important is the sense of touch for sensual reasons and the most beloved among most people, the ability to see. To see accurately can be filtered when being in the dark jungle at night, or when food becomes so scarce that the ability to see insects from the next hill over, usually promoting the apex among apex as they see their way out of their problems. Sorta. In this case, the ability to see far requires the capacity to deduce shape at smaller and smaller scales, leaving the door open for the capacity to see in there, ultraviolet, making its way into the human form. Hence the Monkey King is an individual that can see ultraviolet and even smaller. With the capacity to deduce shapes out of small light frequencies requires a more complex mind. Most cannot, for the sake of survival, since in a huge society, quality nutrition is too costly a luxury. Shedding complex form over the generations, considering all things possible, the ability to see smaller and smaller increases its own propagation, since women will undoubtedly notice men with exceptional senses. Perhaps I will move on to something else more unrelated. In the Marvel Comics, the X-Men are a group of people that are above extraordinary as they have the capacity to do much more than meets the eye of someone with mediocre knowledge at best. With enough time, a genetic lineage may find all sorts of convenient mutations that self-propagate due to its natural form. The pinnacle of human sensitivity, shunned away for becoming a danger, even though the opposite is usually true. Could it be that long-term sustained agricultural practices that procure complete nutrition and diverse microbiome lead to an era of superhumans, an era that interrupt industry, as women oftentimes break promises to get one of these X-Men fellows in while the de facto partner is at work. The leaders of industry fight back, potentially with powerful chemical batteries and fusion energy tools, that eradicate those that are excess, yet are present only because their organism can survive in poverty. Leading to a division in mankind, a division that is the polar opposite of the other. On one side, the powerful industrialists, techno-kings overpower those that yield natural physiological power and superhuman senses. Those that win usually win on the backs of many generations, usually to eradicate the waste overpopulation, not knowing that's where they'll find some genetic gems. Could we be dealing with a circular logic trap every 1,000 years? A drama, fueled by individuals that have adapted to have spectacular capacities, dividing humanity further and further, as the industrialists lose form after generations of eating empty calories, and those that live off of nature inherit a complex form worthy of envy and desire. What are your thoughts? Comment below. And as always, subscribe to show signs of intelligence.